Okay, we're going to continue with our demo. And just to refresh what we did is we created, in the last video, we created an agent-to-agent server with a Strands agent for AWS Docs using MCP to get documentation. We also created another Strands agent for AWS Blogs using DuckDuckGo and searching tools to retrieve blogs, etc. And then both of them were configured so that they could run an agent-to-agent server. It turns out we're using two different runtimes, which is a good example, and we're using an LLM to give instructions and stuff and how to make sure that we get concise, accurate answers, and we give them detailed instructions so they could do what they need to do. Now, in this video here, what we're going to do is we're going to create this orchestration agent and probably call these two. So these are already exposed and can be called by an A2A agent server. And now we're going to do this orchestration agent and actually make it an A2A client, which calls these two agents. Okay, so let's look at the, I guess I'm looking at a diagram, an architecture diagram, but I think what we want to do is go into our second notebook, which says deploy the orchestrator, and we want to see what this thing has to offer. I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to run the first cell. And so here, this is the diagram it has for the orchestrator agent. And let's see, we launched two of the agents in the last demo. And we're going to use Agentcore runtime that supports A2A invocations. In this lab, we're going to add the orchestrator, which will invoke our agents. Okay, so let's get started. Let's see what happens here. Right now, I don't know where we are. Let me go into setup, and I'm running this. And it ran. It didn't look like it started up a kernel. And now it's going to restore the information from the previous lab. It's going to write this other agent. See, now my agents showed up here. Now that I'm in a new notebook, all of a sudden my agents show up here. So these are the agents that we created before. They wind up appearing in the agents directory. Our Docker file was created. Our YAML file was created. And you'll see you'll see these files have a certain amount of configuration in them. Let's just quickly look at this one. This has the doc assistant, has the blog assistant, and that's it. So the orchestration assistant is this thing is gonna be updated with the orchestration. Let me see the agents here. So there's one agent, the AWS Docs assistant, and here's the blog assistant. Yeah, so this thing will be updated after this. We run this notebook. It will be updated with the orchestration agent. So I'm just gonna make a statement here that that everything up to this point includes the two agents, even the Docker file and the configuration file. And when we run this notebook, we're going to be creating the orchestrator. So you'll see another agent here as the orchestrator. You'll see this file updated, and you'll see this Docker file updated. Shucks, it might even update the requirements file. I don't know. But as long as you clean house and do it in order, we're doing good. So here's the orchestration agent. I'm going to run this. It's writing this thing. So it wrote it, but let me just see what happens here. It was supposed to write the orchestration agent in here, but I don't see it yet. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. But let's go see what what's so special about this orchestration agent. So let's take a look at it. It's going to be the agent which is doing the orchestration. So we take a look very quickly and see. Okay, it's going to be called orchestrator. It's got logging, async stuff. A2A.client. It inputs the card resolver, the client config, the client factory. Let's say it's got some configuration for getting parameters, cognito secrets. It's got the agent and the tools from Strands. It's got the Bedrock Agentcore app. So let's see what happens here. And it also it's using Fast API, so it needs some stuff here. So let's take a look at this. It's got some sort of cache object for the connection pool, agents and the cards and the client. Now we instantiate our app. This is the Bedrock Agentcore app. So this is the thing that the client talks to, the customer talks to, right? It gets parameters for docs and logs, agent ARNs. It gets the cognito config out of the secrets manager. And it returns that information. Gets the bearer token. It gets the HTTP client. So what it does here, if we look just to timeout, some limits, and it uses HTTP2. Now here it creates a message. Here it sends the message. And the message is being sent to the runtime URL. We have headers with the bearer token, so if we authenticate, we update the headers with whatever is needed. Agent is not in the cache. We have the resolver. We get agent cards. Here's the agent card. Client config, HTTPX, streaming is false. client factory using the config client, create the client, and we create the message. Okay, and then we have some tools. Send the MCP message, send the blog message. So these are the tools that the orchestration agent uses to send one or the other message. You are an AWS information orchestrator. The system prompt says AWS documentation, available agents. Here's your available agents. Here's your guidelines. Use parallel queries when possible. Timeout in 10 seconds per agent. Provide quick, actionable answers. If timeout, provide what you know. So the instructions say if any of the agents time out, use the LLM and maybe give it a reasonable response. Okay, now here's the agent, the orchestration agent, a orchestration agent to orchestrate the subagents. You have an app entry point, which is invoke agent. Now notice this file is called orchestration Python, but the app entry is annotated, and this is the function it calls when you call the orchestrator. Okay, so what else here? Here's your prompt. There's no user prompt, no prompt provided. And then there's a cleanup here. I don't know when that gets called, but we wrote this thing over here. We wrote this thing to agents directory. Now, since that ran with this, which is what this green checkbox denotes, and now we're going to create roles. Let's create a role for the orchestration agent. Deploy it to the runtime. So this takes a runtime from the starter toolkit, instantiates an Agentcore runtime, and then it configures the runtime with the orchestrator endpoint, the execution role, and the it has to know the requirements file and the cognito authentication configuration. Well, that's for authorization as well. Okay, let's see what happened. We got all this information, which, I'm reading this and saying to myself, why did they do this? But it's trying to do something which didn't work, so now it's launching it a different way. Okay, so what it's doing is, somehow the Docker file got updated and has the orchestration agent in there, and so now when building, it's pulling the orchestration agent out of the source code. It's using the image in a Docker registry. It's running the Docker file. It's pulling the stuff out of the repository and building it and running it and deploying it. So let's see what happened here. Okay, the launch completed. Check the deployment status. Agent is ready. So this is the orchestration agent that's ready. Let me just run this. It's storing some information. And then we're going to invoke the A2A agents using an orchestration agent. So let's run this. Now what this does here, this cell, is it's invoking the orchestration agent to just talk to one of the docs. So if you look at this file, let me just run it. If you look at this file, it looks like it's defining a session ID, and it's using the headers and the bearer token to authenticate, and then we ask it. The prompt says, "What is DynamoDB?" And now we have an invocation. We have a request. Let's see where this came from. We're instantiating Bedrock Agentcore in a particular region, a runtime, and an invocation using the headers, and we're iterating through the lines. And it's given us all this output. The input was, what is DynamoDB? Please provide a brief summary. Output. Tells us, that we're using a tool, blah, blah, blah. Is there any output? Yeah, this stuff is hard to read, but we put it in a JSON format to see what it is. I don't know why it's repeating things. We'll have to see. Send MCP message, which is good news. And it says the instructions here. There's a lot of output here, so what I'm looking for is I think it's calculating the tools. As you can see, who wants to use this? Let's just see what happens at the bottom here. Looks like it's reading all the instructions. I just need to see the output, right? It's telling me I have a package installed. We're using this, but H2 is not installed. Make sure I use HTTPX. Now it's generating the output tokens, and it's just piecemealing this out here. Blah, 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 blah. It's a fully managed SQL database service. I have no idea why I'm looking at so much information. It's this loop where we're parsing a lot of output. But let me see what this tells me at the end. DynamoDB is a fully managed NoSQL database service that provides features, serverless, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so here's the thing that is a little bit going to be time consuming, is taking a result and parsing it and grabbing what you need and what you want to show to the user. So let's just see, I have this installed here. I think I had a problem with this. Let me install this, because I did have a problem. I noticed the HTTPX gave us an error up here, but I don't know if it affected the output, because I don't really understand that output. I got the output from, what the heck what were we doing? Where we were calling AWS docs, and I got all this output, which I don't care about at the moment. Now let's look at this one here. Let's execute this cell. Give me the latest published blog for Bedrock Agentcore. So now this is going to ask the orchestrating agent for that information. Let me see what happened here. Now part of me wants to go over to Amazon and see what the hell happened and with this agent and everything else like that. But right now I'm just trying to understand the code here, and I'll show you how we're cleaning up afterwards. Okay, so this is not good for a demo. It's not good to see all this information in a demo. But what's the important thing here? Okay, so this thing, let's go back to this thing here. Okay, this had the docs assistant. This had now the orchestration assistant is here. See, this wasn't here before. If you look at the Docker file, you'll see it's complete. We have a container we're going to run. We're going to copy the requirements. We're going to install the agents, blah, blah, blah. And then we copy the entire directory. And then we're running. Then we run the command, the Python command, to run the orchestration agent and expose it as an endpoint, right? So So after this Docker file gets published, let's go look at the image real quick. Again. Yeah, it doesn't really show you the Docker containers at all, which is good to some extent, but the bottom line is you don't really need containers to run this, because this is a serverless environment, but it detected something that made it use the Docker container, etc. Now, like I said, the orchestration agent should have shown up here. Let me try this once more. See, this is interesting because the recently changed file should contain the one I just wrote. Well, I wrote that before as well, but okay, I'm gonna do an experiment here. Let's say show all. Okay, so anyway, what we did, let's see, we have a little bit of time, I guess. So we called this orchestration agent, and we called each one of these. We saw that intelligently. Let's just see if we can see. Let's just see if we could see that in the console. Like I said, part of me just wants to look at the code and execute the code. It gets a little time consuming when you still always go to the console, but let's just see what happened, if anything, on the console. So this is my credential file is associated with this Amazon account, and implicitly it uses it to talk to Agentcore and anything it uses for configuration, like when it configured Cognito, or if it's talking to Amazon, it's using my local credential file. But let's just see if we have something here. I'm going to go to Agentcore. I'm going to go to my, let's see, And let me do this. Yeah, like I mentioned before in my other videos, it's nice that AWS integrates things, and you can look at these different user interfaces and get things done. But someone needs to give them a lecture on microservices because I don't feel like I'm getting the gist of everything. I'm over here now, and I'm gonna go look at agents. There's no agents. In this region. So I'm assuming I'm using the West region. So let me go back to Agentcore. Of course, I can go look at Cognito. It generated some Cognito stuff. And let me see the runtime. And here's my agents in my runtime. I have the orchestration agent, a blog agent, a docs agent. And what you can do in this console, let me see if I could get away with this. Okay, so there's tracing, and let's see what we can get from this. Endpoint details. It says test endpoint. Let me see what happens when I test it. I'm going to run that. It didn't get the token. So that's interesting because the Python code is calling Cognito to get the JWT token before it makes this prompt call. And so I'm not going to make a mess of this, but what I was really looking for was more details about the agent. So let me see. Let me go into the docs agent. I want to go into observability. Like I said, the user interface for this is a little bit strange for me because I'm trying to figure out where I need to go, and really my interest was observability. Just want to see if I could see how these things are performing, and so I'm gonna go to observability and see. Now notice I did get install errors with the OpenTelemetry library, so I don't know if it did the right thing here, but let's just see if anything shows up. Okay, so I have 6 agents, right? I have a docs agent, orchestration agent, log docs, and the orchestration agent. So let me look at one of these. And why do I have 2 of these things? Because I did it twice, but I did remove the resources, so I don't know why there's 2 agents here, but it has the number of total tokens. And notice the number of tokens. Let me just go into one of these things. Which one should I go into? Okay, so this was the let me see the traces. The sessions. Looks like I had 2 sessions here. Let me go me see the traces. So it doesn't look like I'm getting good information here. I don't know if I did the right thing, because we just did a demo on orchestration and we saw the right things. But anyway, it was good to go over here and see what's showing up. And I don't want to really get into this too much because this is not an observability demo. But if I had to, let's just look at the orchestrator for a moment and see if it shows me. I think what I wanted to show you were there's some metrics. Shows you everything it's doing. Used Cloud Sonnet, but I don't recall pointing to that. Sessions, traces, tokens. Notice my expense is going up here. I could see my tokens being used. And let's see, start recording, nice. What else do I want to see? Sessions. Let me see the session summary. It took a lot of seconds. Trace ID. Let's look at the trace. Notice it called the two agents. And the other thing I wanted to show you, like I said, this is taking up too much time, but the other thing I wanted to show you is the trajectory. So let's just quickly see how valuable this thing is. We invoked the orchestration agent, and there was send MCP tool message that got parameters and secrets and stuff. Then it called the send blog message. So this is very interesting. You get to see your flow and what had happened. So this is really interesting, and it's given me some insight. It's showing me that what entropic this is for chat though, but I don't it gives me a little bit of insight to what's going on here. And then you have this total spans here. Where's this thing? You get this total spans as 18 of them, which means that you're talking and it's doing this, doing that, doing this. So when it calls a tool, it calls LLM and all these different things. It shows you the second by second breakdown, right? So this called the MCCP, which took some time. This called the blog, which took time. A little bit less time. And so traces are made up of spans, and you could optimize your spans, etc. All right, that's all I wanted to show you. This is why I really don't navigate here, because I don't think this demo was really made for an observability demo. So basically, I just want to end here. Now, like I said, oh, here's the orchestration. it just showed up magically, the orchestration. So this agent's calling this agent. So just remember, this thing is an endpoint. When you call Agentcore, it invokes this, because this is maybe labeled as an app entry. So, and this calls this. And then inside the agent, there's tools. So there's tools that are called and introspected or whatever. But anyway, that's all we wanted to show. And let's move on. I see we have some other demos here. This bidirectional streaming could be very interesting. Okay, let's move on to another demo. Thank you for watching.